Hello and welcome back to the sideboard here at Star City Games Columbus here at the Origins Game Fair. I am joined by Mike Kletz,
Hello.
and he is undefeated at this point. What's your record?
I am 601.
601, impressive record, still well in line to make top 8 contention. And you have brought something interesting to the table. We've seen a lot of bug decks recently, Bug Delver, Shardless Bug. This one's a little bit more controlling, a little bit more grindy. You've basically brought Bug Walkers. Sort of ported it over from Standard, but of course, huge upgrade in a couple of the cards. Tell me about where this deck came from.
Well, we were looking at the metagame last night, and we realized that in a metagame this fair, 8 Planeswalkers along with Board Sweepers is going to be very well positioned. And there's a lot of 4-color and 3-color decks that have been doing very well, so Wasteland Recursion's very good there.
Sure, and so what you have here are 4 Jace the Mind Sculptors, pretty industry standard. 3 Liliana of the Veils, falling off the map a little bit, but certainly not under the radar.
My favorite Planeswalker, personally.
The Liliana? Very powerful effect.
Very powerful.
And Garruk Relentless.
Garruk Relentless has been a powerhouse today. I actually fought a Countryside Crusher for the win earlier today, which has probably never actually happened in Legacy.
Wow. Well done. So yeah, Garruk able to pick off opposing Deathrite Shamans, of which you have 3 also.
Just 3.
Sort of more Planeswalkers, 9, 10, and 11 with all those abilities on it. Garruk also very easily able to fight things like Dark Confidant, Stoneforge Mystic, very popular in this metagame. Plus, Baleful Strix is a Magic card now.
Yes, it is.
And Garruk does a very good job of keeping that thing under wraps
Touch
as
does
well.
not work on Planeswalkers.
So we were talking about the Wasteland Recursion. You have a Life from the Loam engine. You also have Intuition to be able to start your Life from the Loam engine. A couple of the choice cards that you have to be able to get with your Intuition, in addition to the Life from the Loam, are a couple of other non-basic lands. Chief among them, Mishra's Factory. I think that most people are used to that sort of cycling. And you also have Creeping Tar Pit, Cephalid Coliseum, used as a value card, not as a dredge combo, and a Cabal Pit. A card that people might not be used to. So talk to me about the non-basic land suite with the Life from the Loam package.
Okay, well, the industry standards, like you were saying, are the Mishra's Factories and the Wastelands. Those are just givens. And then you've got the Tar Pit as just another man land to help kill your opponent, which you have to do at some point. The Cephalid Coliseum, the draw 3, discard 3, there's actually no drawback with that with Life from the Loam. It is just Ancestral Recall on a stick. And then also you've got the Cabal Pit, which is sort of like Bug's bad version of Punishing Fire. When you have Life from the Loam, you can just keep killing things off.
I was going to ask about Punishing Fire. A lot of these, even Intuition, Life from the Loam decks, typically in a land shell, sometimes in a 4-color shell or a rug shell, are running the Punishing Fires, and you don't have access to that. You've decided that the black cards are much more important. Which black cards specifically, other than Liliana, of course, are you most impressed with in this deck?
Thoughtseize has been very good. Abrupt Decay is obviously very good. 2-mana kill target thing is always uncounterable, very good.
Absolutely.
Deathrite Shaman is actually how I've been getting most of my wins, so the black mana to activate him is important.
Being able to be the sort of Grim Lavamancer finisher for your deck. You also have a copy of Dimir Charm. Which is very, let's say, unusual. Not a usual one. We saw a Golgari Charm on camera earlier. I have never seen a Dimir Charm. Tell me about why you're running a copy of that.
So, I was playing Bug midrange for a while, and about 6 months ago I decided I wanted another removal spell and I wanted another counter spell. And it's a card that does both. I've actually used all 3 modes at different times. The card has just been very versatile. It's never dead, but it's never amazing. So it's,
it's very solid. It's also blue, which is important to keep your blue count up in a 3-color deck like this for Force of Will. You also have 2 copies of Pernicious Deed. A card printed before Planeswalkers, so it does not destroy them, unlike its progenitor or its child, Gaze of Granite from the most recent set. So Pernicious Deed. You were talking about Board Sweepers. That's the main one.
There was a lot of buzz in the room yesterday about Tezzeret. So I figured a Board Sweeper that can also destroy a field full of artifacts is very good.
Absolutely.
I actually killed 4 enchantments with it against Miracles earlier today too, so it's a very versatile, very powerful effect.
The Tezzeret deck was taking advantage of a very, very specific set of the metagame, which was pretty much nothing in the metagame could answer, gain 5 life, make 5 1/1s. Just anything. Like even an Emrakul trigger can't really answer that. So Pernicious Deed very willing and able to supply that. You've got the rest of the setup to the main deck, fairly standard Abrupt Decay, Brainstorm kind of setup to be able to get you to your end game.
Yes.
After sideboard, we have a couple of different plans. The first one's Tarmogoyf. Doesn't usually live in the sideboard.
It does not. Tarmogoyf was... Is this kind of like my Geist Saint Traft from Blue White Miracles? Is this something, a cheap, big body I can bring in against combo decks to put a clock on them?
Sure.
And it's also nice just to have something with a big butt when you're playing against an aggro deck like Zoo.
Absolutely, yeah. And in your deck, you're always going to have a land in the graveyard. You're almost always going to have a sorcery with Thoughtseize or Life from the Loam, and instants aplenty, of course. And you often have a Planeswalker as well, whereas Tarmogoyf can sometimes only get up to a 4/5.
And enchantment.
And enchantment as well with Pernicious Deed, absolutely. So you have a ton of singletons in the sideboard. I'm not going to get to all of them, but there are a couple I want to point out. The first one I'm going to point out is Raven's Crime.
Raven's Crime.
Raven's Crime is a value card.
Yes, it is.
It's very powerful in a Life from the Loam deck.
Yes, it is.
What is the main matchup that you want to Raven's Crime?
The main matchup I want Raven's Crime for is Blue White Miracles, primarily because we both just sit there and do nothing. So being able to strip their hand clean is very important. It's also better. It's also very good against the slower combo decks.
So combo decks that take 4 turns to develop, something like High Tide?
Right, or anything that I can stall a little bit with Thoughtseize, and then I can just sort of pick them apart between Raven's Crime and Liliana and just keep the hand there.
Sure. So. Another one I want to point out in the sideboard is you have a Dark Blast.
Yes, I do.
Dark Blast is a little bit unusual. It does Dredge also.
Yes, it does.
This is a card that I imagine is for hate bears, mostly, things like Thalia.
Yeah, it's very good against Thalia, yes, it's good there. Also the Deathblade deck, it being able to hit Snapcaster, Deathrite Shaman, or not Deathrite Shaman, Dark Confidant and Vendilion Click's very good. Elves has been climbing in popularity, it's good there. I've been a really big fan of Engineered Plague, but because of the Pernicious, because you want to in those matchups, I had to settle for Dark Blast, but it's been very good.
Sure, it's important to keep in mind that you can, on your upkeep, cast Dark Blast, dredge it for your draw step, and then Dark Blast again to get rid of 2/2s like Gadok Teague, Deathrite Shaman. Unfortunately, can't get rid of Aethersworn Canonist that way, but something to keep in mind if you're playing this deck in the future. I would be remiss if I didn't ask for your best Notion Thief story.
My best Notion Thief story. So far, my best one of this tournament was getting it Pyroblasted in response to a Brainstorm.
Okay, that's fine.
But my best one ever was I played it off of my opponent's Show and Tell, and he put in a Gristlebrand. And then we just kind of looked at each other. So
that's pretty good. Yeah, we've had some interesting Notion Thieves on the Open Series. We had a pretty good one earlier today that didn't pan out the way we wanted, unfortunately, because the game did not work that way. But Ancestral Vision Unresolving was a pretty good one.
That'd be pretty good.
There's a lot of good ones out there. I've still yet to see the Time Spiral.
That would be amazing.
Get eaten by it, but that's the one I'm looking for.
That's on my bucket list. So
yeah, exactly. Somebody has to have. Everyone has to have a Notion Thief story. Whether it happened to them or they did it, it's going to be great. Well, this is a deck that gives you so many choices. All the Planeswalkers have. There's a total of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 modes on your 3 Planeswalkers.
All very good.
You have so many different options with cards like Deathrite Shaman, when to use your Dimir Charm, when to use your Pernicious Deed, and Brainstorm, of course, gives you all of these options all put together.
Yes.
This is a deck that affords you lots of options and gives you a lot of play. So if you don't mind thinking for several rounds in a row, which there are lots of decks out there where you don't. As much as this deck. But if you're willing to put in the work, maybe you too could be 6-0-1 with this deck headed in to one of the last rounds. And well, thank you so much for bringing this deck over. It's a joy to have you in the sideboard.
Thanks, Ruben.
And we'll be right back here at Star City Games Columbus.